Ships disappear. It happens. Weather, mechanical failure, human error. The ocean is vast, unforgiving, and keeps its secrets. But sometimes it gives them back. And when it does, the questions that return with them are more disturbing than the disappearance itself. The SS Cotopaxi was a bulk carrier, 76 meters long, built in 1918. It hauled cargo across the Caribbean and the Atlantic, coal mostly from port to port. Routine work. Experienced crew. Nothing remarkable. On November 29, 1925, it departed Charleston, South Carolina, bound for Havana, Cuba, carrying 2,340 tons of coal. The expected journey time was 4 days. The ship had a crew of 32. None of them ever arrived. The Cotopaxi was reported overdue on December 4, 1925. Search efforts were launched. Nothing was found. No wreckage, no oil slick, no debris. The official conclusion, filed by the U.S. Coast Guard in early 1926, was that the ship had likely encountered a severe storm and sunk somewhere off the coast of Florida. The crew was presumed dead. The case was closed. For 70 years, the Cotopaxi was a footnote in maritime history. A ship that disappeared during an era when ships disappeared frequently, before modern navigation, before radar, before satellite tracking. It wasn't suspicious. It was just tragic. And then, in May 2015, something impossible happened. A Cuban Coast Guard patrol, conducting a routine anti-smuggling operation approximately 35 nautical miles off the northern coast of Cuba, encountered a vessel adrift in open water. The ship was heavily rusted, covered in marine growth, clearly abandoned. But it wasn't a modern wreck. The design was wrong, too old, too intact. When the Cuban authorities boarded the vessel, they found a name on the hull, faint but still legible beneath decades of corrosion. SS Cotopaxi, Charleston, South Carolina, the same ship that had vanished in 1925. The same ship that official records stated had sunk. It was floating, empty, intact. The Cuban government contacted maritime historians and salvage experts to verify the identity of the vessel. Dr. Hector Galvan, a naval historian from the University of Havana, was among the first to board the ship. His initial assessment, documented in a report submitted to the Cuban Ministry of Transportation, confirmed it. The dimensions matched. The construction matched. Even the engine serial number, still faintly visible on the corroded machinery, matched the Cotopaxi's registered specifications. But the ship shouldn't exist, not like this. If it had sunk in 1925, it should be on the ocean floor, broken apart, scattered across miles of seabed. If it had been adrift for 90 years, it should have disintegrated, corroded, destroyed by decades of salt water and weather. Yet there it was, structurally sound. The hull was rusted but intact. The cargo holds were still sealed, and inside those holds, undisturbed, were the remains of the coal it had been carrying. Dr. Galvan described the coal in his report. The cargo was compressed, compacted by time and pressure, but identifiable. Chemical analysis confirmed it was bituminous coal, consistent with the type mined in West Virginia in the 1920s. The hold showed no signs of water intrusion. The seals were intact. If this ship had sunk, the cargo would have been scattered or dissolved. It wasn't. Here's where it gets stranger. The ship's bridge was accessible. The navigation logs were still there, stored in a corroded metal locker. The pages were brittle. Pages were brittle, stained with moisture, but readable. The entries covered the first 3 days of the voyage. November 29, 1925, November 30, 1925, December 1, 1925. The handwriting was steady, the notes routine, position updates. Weather observations, weather observations, weather observation. Engine performance. And then, mid-entry on December 1st, the writing stopped. The final line, translated from the original English, read, "Wind shifting northeast. Barometric pressure dropping. We are And then nothing. Not torn, not smudged. Just blank. As if the person writing had stopped mid-sentence, put down the pen, and walked away. Forever. Maritime investigators attempted to analyze the log for additional details. Dr. Elisa Romero, a forensic document analyst brought in by the Cuban authorities, examined the pages under magnification. She found no signs of panic, no rushed handwriting, no indication that the crew knew they were in danger. The entries were calm, professional, standard procedure. And then they ended. Abruptly, without explanation. One detail in the logs raised immediate questions. The final recorded position on December 1, 1925, placed the Cotopaxi approximately 100 nautical miles north of its intended route to Havana. That deviation wasn't explained. Ships in the 1920s followed established routes. Deviating by 100 miles required a deliberate navigational decision, either to avoid weather, to respond to a distress signal, or to investigate something. The logs mentioned none of these. The ship was simply 100 miles off course, with no recorded reason why. Dr. Galvan requested permission to conduct a full forensic examination of the vessel, to document its condition, analyze the cargo, and search for any evidence of what had happened to the crew. The Cuban government initially approved the request. A team was assembled. Equipment was prepared. And then, on June 12, 2015, less than 1 month after the ship was discovered, the Cotopaxi disappeared again. A storm passed through the area where the ship was being held under Cuban Coast Guard supervision. When the weather cleared, the ship was gone. No tow lines had been attached. No salvage operation was underway. It had been anchored in place, monitored by patrol vessels, and then it wasn't there. The Cuban Coast Guard launched a search. Nothing, no debris, no trace. The ship had simply vanished a second time. The official statement released by the Cuban Ministry of Transportation acknowledged that the vessel of interest was lost during severe weather conditions and is presumed to have sunk. But here's the problem. The storm wasn't severe. Weather records from June 12, 2015 show moderate winds, 6-meter swells, typical for the region during that time of year. Not calm, but not unusual. Ships don't vanish in moderate weather, especially ships under active supervision by a Coast Guard that was monitoring it specifically because of its historical significance. Dr. Galvan was interviewed by a maritime journalist 3 months after the ship disappeared. The interview was published in a Cuban naval history journal, Revista Maritima Cubana, but received little international attention. In the interview, Galvan stated, "I've worked with shipwrecks for 30 years. I've never seen a vessel in that condition, intact after 90 years. And the first have never had a wreck disappear while under official custody." When asked if he believed the ship had sunk during the storm, he said, "I believe the ship was removed. Whether it sank, or was towed, or was deliberately scuttled, I can't say. But ships don't vanish from monitored anchorage without someone knowing where they went. There's another layer to this." Before the Cotopaxi disappeared the second time, Dr. Galvan and his team conducted a preliminary survey of the crew quarters. What they found raised more questions than it answered. Personal items were still aboard. Bunks were made. Clothing was stored in lockers. Dishes were stacked in the galley. It looked, according to Galvan's report, as if the crew had simply stepped off the ship and never returned. But that doesn't align with any known maritime disaster. If the ship had been abandoned due to storm damage, the crew would have taken emergency supplies, life vests, rafts. None of those items were missing. If there had been a fire or explosion, there would be scorch marks, structural damage, evidence of chaos. There was none. The ship was intact. The crew was gone, and no bodies were ever found. Not in 1925, not in 2015, not anywhere. One object recovered from the ship before it disappeared has never been fully explained. In the captain's cabin, investigators found a pocket watch, stopped at 11:43. The date mechanism on the watch, a mechanical feature common in high-quality timepieces of that era, showed December 1. The watch hadn't been damaged. The mechanism was functional. It had simply stopped. A horologist in Havana examined the watch. His conclusion, documented in a letter to Dr. Galvan, stated, "The watch stopped due to a sudden cessation of motion. Not winding failure. Not impact. The gears froze in place as if time itself paused." I've only seen this type of stoppage in watches exposed to extreme electromagnetic interference. But in 1925, there was no source of electromagnetic interference in the middle of the Caribbean. No radar, no radio towers powerful enough to affect a mechanical watch. Just ocean. And whatever happened to the Cotopaxi? The case attracted the attention of Dr. Rachel Noland, a maritime historian from the University of Miami, who has spent decades studying ship disappearances in the Atlantic and Caribbean. She requested access to the Cotopaxi's navigation logs, the photographs taken by the Cuban team, and any additional documentation. Her request was denied. The Cuban government stated that all materials related to the ship were classified pending completion of internal review. That review has been ongoing for 9 years. No findings have been published. No additional information has been released. The photographs taken by Dr. Galvan's team are not publicly accessible. The logs are archived. The coal samples are stored somewhere, classified, inaccessible. The ship, wherever it is now, has vanished for the second time. And the crew remains missing. Dr. Noland published a paper in 2017 examining disappearances of similar vessels during the same period. She found a pattern. Between 1920 and 1930, at least 11 bulk carriers vanished in the Caribbean and Western Atlantic under similar circumstances. Clear weather, experienced crews, no distress signals. No distress signal. All were presumed sunk. None were ever found. Until the Cotopaxi. One of those ships was the S.L. Faro, which disappeared in 1925, just 6 months before the Cotopaxi. Another was the SS Cyclops, which vanished in 1918 with 306 people aboard. The single largest loss of life in U.S. naval history, not involving combat. Like the Cotopaxi, no wreckage was ever found. Like the Cotopaxi, the final radio messages were routine, giving no indication of distress. And like the Cotopaxi, the official explanation was weather. But weather leaves evidence. Debris evidence. Debris. Oil slicks. Bodies. The ocean gives back pieces of what it takes. These ships gave back nothing. Until, inexplicably, one of them reappeared 90 years later, intact, crewless, and then disappeared again, before anyone could fully investigate what had happened. Think about what that means. A ship that was supposed to be on the ocean floor, broken and scattered, was found floating, intact, with its cargo still sealed, its logs ending mid-sentence, its crew's personal belongings still in place. And when investigators tried to document it, it vanished. Again, Dr. Galvan was asked in the 2015 interview if he believed the crew was still alive somewhere. He didn't answer directly. What he did say was this: if a ship can vanish in 1925 and reappear in 2015, then our understanding of what's possible in the ocean is incomplete. I don't know if the crew is alive. I don't know where they went. But the first know they left that ship under circumstances that don't match any known maritime disaster. And the first know someone decided we weren't allowed to investigate further. The SS Cotopaxi is gone. The crew is gone. The evidence is classified. And the ocean, which held the ship for 90 years before releasing it for one brief month, has taken it back. Whether it sank or whether it's still out there, adrift in some corner of the Caribbean, waiting to be found again, no one can say. What we can say is this: the ship existed, it was documented, photographed, boarded, examined, and then it was removed from the record, quietly before the questions it raised could be answered. If you made it this far, thank you. Leave a like if this story stayed with you. Tell us in the comments what you think happened to the crew. Where did they go? And why was the investigation shut down? Subscribe if you want us to keep exploring the mysteries they don't want investigated. Because the ocean keeps its secrets, but sometimes it offers a glimpse. And when it does, someone always seems to make sure we look away.